Chapter 8, Kapitel Ches in Tehillim. So we're going to go through it like we always do. Translating it, basic translation, and then we're going to restart it. And today, what we're going to do, there's a lot of medrash about today's chapter that I wanted to get to. And I didn't think, and it's not necessarily connected to any specific pasuk per se, it's connected to the overarching idea of what this kapitel is all about. So I decided that afterwards, I'm going to go back and talk about some of the midrashim that are connected to this kapitel. We'll do it at the end, meaning like once we have a good understanding on the kapitel, then we'll go back into the medrash. I think that's anyways, we'll see. We'll see how it goes. You'll let me know. So Kapitel Ches, we'll start off with the beginning. So first of all, it says that this is Shevach Gadol HaKadosh Baruch Hu. This psalm is a glorious praise of Hashem, ala chesed, for the kindness, she'asa im Adam, that he does with man, with humans, shval anushi, even the lowest of man, v'nasan la tachtainim, and he gives to those lowly, meaning the people down here below, he gave them the Torah. And the angels, which is what we're going to be talking about at the end of the class from the Medrash, the angels were very jealous of that, right? Sheniskanu ba malachi maila, that the angels above were very jealous. And al derech asher oimetz gvurasecha b'malachi maila v'avis asila mikrutzei chaymer mata, and this is referring to some of the prayers that we do during the high holidays that is connected with our relationship with Hashem versus the angels' relationship with Hashem. So that we're going to get into. It's more mystical, more drush, and we're going to get into the medrash a little later. So let's start from the beginning. Kapitel Ches, Pasuk Aleph, Lam Natseach, to the conductor, Ala Gittis, on the Gittis, which will translate the next round, Mizmer LeDavid, a psalm by David. Hashem Adineinu, Hashem, our master, Mo'adir Shimcha, how mighty, how great is your name, Bechol Haaretz, in the whole land. Asher Tna Hoidcha Ala Shamayim, that you have given from your majesty upon the heavens. Mipi Oilulim V'Yayinkim, from the mouths of babes and sucklings, from little babies, from little children. Yisadeta Oiz, you have established Oiz, your might. Leman Tzeirecha, to show your enemies, lahashpis oyev umisnakem, to silence those who are your enemies and those who try to avenge. Ki era shamecha, when I see the heavens, or shamecha, your heavens, masei etzbe oisecha, the workings of your fingers, meaning the creations of your fingers, Yoreach v'koichavim, the stars and the moon, asher keinanta, that you have put into the proper place. So then, ma enosh kisiskerenu, what is man that you even remember him? Uven adam, and the son of a man, kisif yedenu, that you have space in your mind, so to speak, that you're mindful of him. Vatechasreyu, but what did you give man? The only thing that they're missing, chaser, from the word chaser, the only thing that they're missing, you made them missing something. What is it? Me'at me'elikim. Very little from being, elikim over here is referring to angels, so very little, meaning very close to the angels. The kavod, the hadar, and honor and glory to atreyu, you have crowned him, meaning humans, man. Tamshileyu, you've given him rulership, b'maseh yadecha, on what you have created. Kol shata tachas raglov, everything that is under, and you've put everything, and everything that is under their feet. Tzayna va'alafim kulam, sheep and cattle, all of them. V'gam b'amei sadai, and all the other animals of the field. So again, we're talking about all the things that the humans have rulership over. And then it continues, Tzipor Shamayim, Udgei Hayam, the birds in the sky, and the fish in the sea, Oiver Orches Yamim, and not only that, human beings have the possibility and the ingenuity of traveling over Yamim, over the sea. And it concludes, Hashem Adinenu, which is a repetition of something mentioned before. Hashem, our master, Ma'adir Shimcha, how great is your name, B'chol ha'aretz, in the whole land. So this is the capital. It's a nice flowery capital. That in a way doesn't say much, in a way says very, very much. So certain things are very, very simple, but some things are very, very deep and mean layers and layers of things. So what's going on over here? Over here, King David is talking about a uniqueness of a person over an angel. There's angels, there's people, there's human beings. Hashem has a relationship, a unique relationship with human beings. Hashem has a unique relationship with angels. And over here, David HaMelech is bringing out the unique relationship that Hashem has with human beings over angels. And it's not about intellect, because if it was about intellect, if the fact that what's unique about human beings is the intellectuality of human beings, so then intellect, maybe angels have more intellect, maybe they have a better understanding than us. It's what is it about? It's about our involvement in the study of Torah and doing of mitzvahs. That's the ultimate idea that he's trying to bring up over here, is about the involvement of Torah and mitzvahs, and in that we have a greater connection to Hashem and a relationship with Hashem than the angels do. So the first pasuk, Lam Natseach ala Gittis Mizmar LeDavid. So to the conductor, Lam Natseach, to the conductor ala Gittis. So what's Gittis? So this is almost always a conversation at the beginning of every chapter. So what is Gittis over here? So different commentaries say, some say that it's a type of instrument that was made from a person that lives in the city of Gath. Some people say that it's a specific instrument from the city of Gath. And some say that King David sang this song in the city of Gath. So that's Lam Natseach ala Gittis. Hashem Adinenu. So first of all, let's look at this pasuk number 2. Hashem, our God, Mo'adir Shimcha B'chol ha'aretz. How great, how mighty is your name throughout the earth, and you have set your majesty upon the heavens. So that's one way to look at it. That how great is your name, B'chol ha'aretz, in the land, and you've set your majesty in the heavens. That's the simple way to translate it. Though Rashi over here, interestingly, comes and says, how great is your name throughout the earth. Ma'adir Shimcha B'chol ha'aretz. Even though you might think that it would be the proper place to put your glory, your majesty in the heavens. So Ma'adir Shimcha B'chol ha'aretz, that's where your glory is. But we would have thought that your hide, that your glory would have been more in the heavens. And that's why Rashi, a little bit different, explains this, that where is the main focus of Hashem's glory. Hashem's glory is the main focus here in this world, and that's what he wants. He wants to show his glory here to us, here in this world. So the Rashi is slightly changes over here what the approach to the capital is. And as we're going to go through the capital, we're going to see that there's a balancing act that King David has over here, that on the one hand, he talks about how insignificant we really are, but how amazing it is that Hashem gives us and has a relationship with us, gives us the Torah, gives us the mitzvahs, and has a relationship with us. That's the back and forth that he has that he has over here. Now, Pasuk Gimel, mipi oilim v'yankim. So from the mouths of babes, from children, right? Yisadet ois. That's where you established your glory, ois, your might, your strength, right? So the Radak over here says that the idea that he's trying to say, many commentaries, the Medrash brings this down as well, that from the time that you see a little baby, meaning from the beginning of life, we already see Hashem's established ois, Hashem's established might. Why? The miracles that happen already, and he gives examples, just the idea of a child breastfeeding, he brings down in the Radak. the miracle that it's not too much milk, it's not too little milk, everything is exact, and how Hashem makes it and makes sure that it happens properly. That miracle, we see the miracle of what Hashem does already from when a child is born. Now, that's not a miracle that's only limited to children. It's also to humans. This is also something that is given to animals as well. This miracle of being able to breastfeed right away when they're born and understand and be able to suckle, etc. The Radak continues and he says, but since we have a certain level of bina, a certain level of understanding, and a certain appreciation, and therefore it behooves us to praise Hashem. And that's where the perspective is coming from. That since we recognize it, if we're going to recognize it, we have to use that recognition to praise Hashem for what we see, for and acknowledge it. Now, children in general, as we know, have a very unique connection to the study of Torah in general. As we know, when Hashem wanted it, the Medrash brings down this story over here, but it's brought down in many other places as well. And when Hashem wanted to give the Torah to the Jewish people, he asked them for a guarantor. It's a very valuable thing, the Torah, and Hashem wanted to make sure that the Jewish people will study Torah, that they'll keep the Torah, and they'll pass it on from generation to generation. And he asked the Jewish people for a guarantor, and what did the Jewish people say? They said, Shemayim Varetz. They gave many other ideas. They said, our parents will be our guarantors. They said, the heavens and earth will be guarantors. To all these, Hashem answered that it's not good enough, and ultimately that they said that the children will be the ones that will guarantee. And then Hashem said, if the children will guarantee, then I will give you the Torah. So again, this is also connected with Hashem establishing his eyes, establishing might. Where does it come? Where is it recognized? Where does it become established? It comes established through the teaching of Torah, through the idea of children learning Torah and passing it on to the next generation through the study of Torah with children. It's also very famously that the children were the first ones to recognize Hashem's glory by the splitting of the sea, etc. And our sages have said that in order if we're going through a bad decree, if there's something bad going on, we should make sure that the children should cry out to Hashem because they are pure. And when children cry out to Hashem, when children daven to Hashem, the Rebbe mentioned this many times, very often make rallies and with children saying psukim, saying verses of Torah and prayer in order to avoid bad things from happening. So this is also connection of children and Torah, as well as the famous story of Mordechai and Haman, right? What's the story of Mordechai and Haman? Mordechai was saddened by the decree that Haman was going to destroy the Jewish people with Achashverosh, the story of Purim. And he's walking down the street and he bumps into a group of children and he asks them, Psaikli psukha, tell me what you have studied, tell me what you have learned today in school, in yeshiva, to which one of them answered, one pasuk, al tira mi pachat pisayim, umishayis Hashem kisavai. The next one said, utzu eitz of a sufar, dabra davar lo yakum ki manokel. And the third one said, vadzikna ani hu, vadsei vani yasbel, vani asisi, vani yasam, vani yasbel, v'amalik. This is not every nusach says this, but in the Chabad, in Nusach Hari, after Aleinu, we sing al tira. These are the verses that were said to Mordechai. And when Mordechai saw that the Jewish children are studying Torah, and they went to school that day, and they were learning Torah, all of a sudden he was calm. He knew that everything will be okay, everything will be fine. And that's again the connection of mipi oilim v'yankim, that King David over here says that out of the mouths of babes, out of the children, when the children study Torah, when the children say psukim, when the children say things, so then yisad ta'ois, the yasad is from the yesod is from the word foundation. Then there's a strong foundation because the children are the foundation of the Jewish people. So that's maybe oilim v'yankim yisad ta'ois, from the children. We establish a foundation of Torah and mitzvahs, and that will be lahashpis oyev misnakim, and that will counter any enemy or any foe, any avenger, anybody that tries to make trouble. Children will establish a strong foundation to make sure that nothing bad happens. Pasuk number 4, pasuk Dav. So over here he says, Ki era shalmecha. David HaMelech is saying, He's bringing the other side. First he says, like how it's amazing that you brought the glory down here into this world. And now he says, Ki era shamecha, but when I look, and I'm amazed, I look at the sky, Ki era, when I see shamecha, your sky, the heavens, Maseyas beisecha, the workings of your fingers. So it's a very interesting way to put it. And when we look at Hashem's creation and we meditate and we focus on the things that he created, the Rebbe said once, when we look at heaven and we meditate on the idea that it is the fingers of Hashem that created it, so ki era shamecha, when we look up at the heavens and then we meditate that it's maseh atzbiyaisecha, that it is the workings of your fingers, meaning the creation of Hashem, then we see very clearly how the pasuk continues that Yorev Kehovim Asher Kainonta. Then we see very clearly how Hashem established, put everything in its proper place, put everything in the right place. So again, the idea of looking up into the sky, meditating on the idea that Hashem created the universe. And when we think about it long enough, we'll see how everything that Hashem did was put into the proper place. Everything done is in the right way. Everything was done, Asher Keinonta, the way it was supposed to be, the way it had to be, the way Hashem put it into the right place. It's interesting over here that, and the Midrashim and the commentaries say, he says, Yoreach v'keichavim. He mentions the moon and the stars, but he doesn't mention, what's he missing over here? He doesn't mention the sun. And the commentaries ask why he doesn't mention the sun, and I saw a few different answers. So first of all, some say the sun is too bright, so you can't look at the sun. Here he's looking at the moon, he's looking at the stars, and he's inspired by that. So he's saying that. But when you look up at the sun, it's too bright, you can't look up at the sun. So that's what some commentaries say. There's other commentaries say that it's either or. Either he's going to mention the sun because he's looking at during the day, or he's going to mention the moon and the stars when he's looking at night. There's much more to say at night. There's so much more to see, so to speak, at night. By day, there's only one thing. There's the sun. By night, you could see the moon, you could see the stars, many stars, all different types of stars, etc., etc. And that's why he mentions the moon and the stars. There's others, though, the Medrash goes on to say, that say that they say that it was Dafka said, this psalm was specifically said at night. And since he was looking at the heavens at night, or some even say that it was at midnight, famously King David's harp would play on its own at midnight, and he would know to get up to praise Hashem. So maybe it was specifically said at midnight, and therefore it's nighttime. But there's different commentaries talk about that he specifically said the psalm at night, and that's why he talks about Yoreach v'kechavim, he talks about the moon and the stars, and he doesn't mention the sun, the sun over here. Also, it mentions the fingers, like Hashem's fingers. It's very unique to mention that. And it's usually mentioned when it's very detailed work. Think about it. Where else do you remember it saying about fingers? The one that comes to my mind is when the Chartumei Mitzrayim, when the sorcerers in Egypt, when they tried to replicate the Makkahs, when they tried to replicate the plagues, the first plague for blood, they didn't have so much of a problem to replicate. The second plague, the frogs, they didn't either have so much of a problem. The third plague, all of a sudden they say, Etzba Elikim, that this plague, the third plague, is the finger of God. What's the finger of God? It was something he couldn't replicate. It's too detailed of work, and that's what it was, too small. And because it was too small, because it was too small, so then it was something that they couldn't replicate. So the same thing over here. You're talking about fine work, detailed work. So that's what it's talking about over here. When you're talking about Hashem creation of the world, and David HaMelech describing it, he says, the workers of your fingers. What's the work of your fingers? The work of your fingers, like fine work. You could see in each detail, as we mentioned, how everything is in the right spot. The other idea also is that fingers, when we talk about fingers, we think about 10. And we know that Hashem created the world, Basar Ma'amaris, with 10 utterances. Also, Hashem created the world with Eser Sfiros, with the 10 attributes. Kabbalistically speaking, the 10 attributes that Hashem used in order to create the world. So there's also this idea of 10, and that is the idea of matzeh etzba yisecha, the idea of fingers. By the way, Abigail, we don't recite Psalms at night, but learning, you could learn Tehillim at night, no problem. So over here we see also that something that is so normal, so regular, that David HaMelech saw every single night. He saw the moon. Every single night he saw the stars. But he gets excited about it all over again. Ki ero shamecha, when I look at the sky and I see the moon and I see the stars, I get all excited all over again. It's a very important lesson for us that we should also recognize even the things that we take for granted, the little things that happen and we think they happen on their own, or not we think, we don't even give it much thought. And that's the lesson. Also, one of the lessons we can learn from this chapter of Tehillim is that we should recognize things, and even though they come somewhat on their own and they happen every day, of course they don't come on their own. They come because Hashem makes sure that they do, and Hashem is making sure every single moment. Right? We say in davening that Hashem recreates at every single moment, every single day, recreates, and that's why we have a world. But we don't recognize it, we don't see it. But that's the idea. We have to look at the sky, we have to meditate about it, we have to think about it, and recognize how Hashem literally is created it and is recreating it, etc. Pasuk Hey. So now that the sky is so great, and the sun and the stars and the moon, it's so amazing, so great. So like man, we're so small. What is this man that you should remember him? And the Son of Man, that you even have place, yet that you're mindful, that you have place in your mind, so to speak. Hashem has place in your mind for human beings, right? So when we look at this, when we see the handiwork of Hashem, when we see what Hashem did and created the world, and we look around at the world, we're amazed, and that's what David HaMelech is amazed about. That's why he continues that. Nonetheless, even with everything that you've done, you created such an amazing world, that nonetheless you gave strength and action to human beings. You gave us a part here in this world. So he's building it up over here. They're saying, I look at the skies, I look at the heavens, but then, what are these human beings? We're going to get into later and talk about the Medrash, the way the Medrash says that this verse actually came from the angels, and that the angels said this verse, Ma'anish, at different encounters, when the angels didn't want Hashem to, whether it's give the Torah or other things to the Jewish people, so they say this pasuk, Ma'anish kisis kerenu. Who are these human beings that you're going to give them this? You think they deserve it, etc., etc. But we'll get to that later. But there's also the simple pshat that David HaMelech is saying it, and he's amazed that Hashem is even recognizing that and having a relationship with us, with human beings. Pasuk 6, Pasuk Vav, Vatchasreyu me'at me'elikim. And not only that, you gave us so much. The only thing that we're missing is ma'at, a little bit, me'elikim, from being like angels. So over here, again, the pasuk is saying, according to all the commentaries that I saw, that we are almost like angels. We're just missing that little bit to be like angels. And Rashi and the Medrash over here say that it's referring to someone like Yeshua. Joshua famously held up the sun. Shemesh begivain daim. That he held up the sun in order for the Jewish people to finish off the war. They needed light, they needed sunlight. And he says, no, on the 3rd of Tammuz, hold up that sun, don't let it go down. That is almost angelic to be able to accomplish that. So Rashi uses that as an example. It gives an example of splitting of the water and going through dry water, Eliyahu Navi reviving the dead and stuff like that. He brings up these ideas as that that we are so close to the angels, we're just missing that little bit to be like angels. And the Rebbe over here, and according to Chassidic philosophy, there's this concept that I mean, there's a concept. This is the idea that we have a neshama. What's a neshama? Our neshama is a piece of Hashem. It's literally a piece of God that Hashem, it says in the pasuk, Vayipach ba'apav nishmas chaim, that when Hashem created Adam, he blew into his nostrils a soul of life. The blowing came from God. Vayipach ba'apav, that Hashem blew into Adam's nostrils and gave him a soul of life, means that it came from inside of Hashem, as it's explained. So the soul, the animated soul, the soul that gives us life force is literally a part of Hashem. So that is even higher than the angels. And the soul comes down here into this world. It comes down, it goes down in stature, goes down in level in order to be here in this world. But ultimately, why is it doing that? It's doing that in order so that it should be able to rise even to a higher level, because there are certain things that a soul on high can't do, but a soul fused in a body can do a mitzvah. A neshama on its own cannot do a mitzvah, can't learn Torah, but when it's fused together with a body, when a body is enlivened because it has a soul within it, it could study Torah and it could do mitzvahs. And also angels also have this problem, so to speak, that they can't do mitzvahs. They're not obligated to do mitzvahs. It's a whole nother conversation, which we're going to get into also about the medrash, about the angels not being obligated in doing mitzvahs. So this is also the idea that we're almost on that level of angels. We're trying to refine our neshama to go onto a higher and loftier level. And then the pasuk ends off v'kavod v'hadar teatreo, that you crown the human being with honor and glory. So what's this honor and glory? So the Radak actually says, I think it was the Radak, actually brought up in the Medrash, that it's a remez that thanking Hashem, that human beings, we can stand on 2 feet, and we're not like animals that we go on all 4. So that's the kavod and the hadar, that is the honor and the glory that is referring to over here, that we stand on 2 feet and we don't have to go on all 4. So that's kavod v'hadar tatreu, that David HaMelech is thanking Hashem for that honor and glory. And not only that, King David goes on further. Tamshileu b'masei yadecha. You give them, these human beings, us people, you give them rulership over your handiwork. B'masei yadecha, the things that you've created, the world that you've created, you give them rulership over. Obviously, we should strive to do the right thing with it. That goes without saying. But how awesome is that? Hashem created such an amazing thing. And when I meditate about it, I recognize how everything is the right thing in the right place. And what did you do? You gave it to us to rule, right? As mentioned in Chumash Bereshis. So Tamshilei b'masei yadecha, kol she'ata tachas raglav, you give everything for them to be everything under their feet. You placed everything under their feet. So this idea, and it's not only that tzaddikim, that righteous people, holy people, or only people that do mitzvahs. No, all human beings, you gave them that kind of rulership over the world. And that's going back. What's this man that you gave him so much? And then he goes on in the next 2 psukim and he starts counting things. He says, you gave them so much. You gave them tzaina, va'alafim, you gave them sheep, you gave them cattle, v'kulam, all animals, v'gamba mesada, all the other animals in the field. And if it's and the animals are not good enough, not good enough, and the animals aren't enough. We didn't say enough. Also, tzipar shamayim, not only things on the earth, even things that are flying in the sky. Tzipar shamayim, things in the sky, things that are flying in the air. Udgei hayam, things that are hiding in the water, fish, and you gave them rulership that they could even travel over water, that they could create boats and they can travel over water. David HaMelech doesn't take any of this for granted. So this is the idea. Even though who is this man, this human that you even have time for, but look how much you've given him. That's what David HaMelech is saying. So what does he end off? if this is what you've done for me, if this is what you've done for us, Hashem Adineinu, Hashem our master, Mo'adir Shimcha b'chol haaretz. How great, how mighty is your name throughout the earth. And that's how he ends off in a form of praise. That he goes back to the original pasuk that we mentioned before. He says, "How amazing, how mighty, how great is your name, b'chol haaretz, in the whole land."
Reb Label.
Yeah.
Before you go into the drash, because this was such a beautiful shot that you explained to us, I just want you to explain again. I wasn't paying enough attention when you spoke about that your majesty is spoken above the heavens, and you gave Rashi's interpretation. You said it was a little bit of a special interpretation. Could you go over that again?
Pasuk Beis you're talking about, right?
Yes, Pasuk Beit, yes.
Okay, so here's Pasuk Beis. Look at it. So Hashem Adineinu Mo'adir Shimcha b'chol haaretz. Hashem, my master. How great, how mighty is your name, b'chol haaretz, in the whole land. Okay, that's simple.
Right.
The question is, Asher Tana Ha'idcha ala Shamayim, for you give your majesty upon the heavens. Does that mean, according to the simple pshat, the way I translated it originally, is that yes, your name is great here in this world, and especially the way we finished off the kapitel where we repeat that part of the pasuk means that it's great. Why? Because David HaMelech says, "I praise you." So I praise you, and that brings a great name for Hashem here in this world, right? So why is Hashem's great name here in this world? Why is it so mighty in this world? Because people praise Hashem, recognize Hashem, and praise Hashem. So, but your real glory is really somewhere far away, somewhere in the heavens. That's the simple way. Rashi comes over here and says, we would think that your majesty should be in heavens, but no, your majesty is down here. It's part of the wondrous thing that King David is saying over here. It's wondrous that you're even having a relationship with us. It's wondrous that your hoid, that your glory is even here in this world. It's part of that wondrous continuation of
that to me is the key. I would go further even. Your majesty in all the earth, your glorious name in all the earth, and your majesty, they speak about it in heaven. What your majesty is on earth, they speak about it in the heavens. Look at what God did for Enosh, for man. We're in the heavens, but God's majesty is even greater in the earth. That's the difference. There's a dichotomy which he's setting up between the earth and the heavens, between man and between angel.
Right.
You know, it's this dichotomy, and he's kind of saying that we have the advantage. Yeah. We have the greater love from Hashem. And
maybe not even for our own merit, meaning it's Hashem's. Of
course,
it comes from
not
Hashem's
from
life.
Our own merit, because it's from the mouths of babes and sucklings.
Right.
What did they deserve? What did they do? That Hashem, right away from the beginning, took strength from the beginning of man, from the infancy. He already took strength to defend man against the avenger and the adversary. So that's what I think Rashi. I'm not sure if I'm putting words in Rashi's mouth, but he's saying that your name is glorious in all the earth, and your majesty on the earth is spoken above in the heavens. They speak about what's going on down here. They're jealous of us.
Right.
That's what I thought it could mean.
Very good.
But anyways, I might be getting carried away.
Very good. So I just wanted to, I want to bring up, I want to bring up some midrashim over here, because this pasuk is used. It's brought down in the Medrash. It's brought down in the Gemara as well. In the Agatha Gemara Shabbos talks about it. These stories of the angels coming to Hashem at different points and complaining to Hashem that why are you having this relationship with the human beings, or the Jewish people specifically. So there's a few times the Medrash says that this relationship between humans and angels, and the angels complaining to Hashem, who are these people that you want to deal with? So the Medrash over here says, Medrash Tehillim brings down, there are three basic times that they complained. The first time, is by creating man in the first place. The whole idea of creating man. They says, what are you gonna create a man? What's this all about? What do you need that for? You have everything that you need here in the heavens. You have everything that you need here with the angels. What do you need Adam? What do you need man? And the Medrash goes on to say that Hashem told the angels, wait and you'll see the chachma, the ingenuity, the uniqueness, the unique. It's not even ingenuity. It's like the smartness, but it's not, chachma is not even smartness. It's something very special. The special chacham, the special chachma of man. And what was it? The idea was that when Adam that Adam went and gave everybody a name and was able to understand the essence of the animal and know what they should be called, and even for Adam to be called Adam also came from Adam. All that was like, and the angel said, wow, that was something like that wasn't something that they expected. The next time that the angels came to Hashem, this is a little bit more famous, was by Matan Torah, by the giving of the Torah. So there's a famous medrash, and the Rebbe has a whole sikha, a separate sikha that we could we've learned about. Mali Yilud Isha. Why is there a person up here? The angels were like freaking out. What's a person coming up here to heaven? A person that was being birthed by a woman. That's what they said. Mali Yilud Isha. Why is this person that was birthed by a woman? Meaning not an angel that came from a spiritual source. That he's coming up here and what's going on? He's coming to get the Torah. What? You're giving the Torah to these people? That's it. Why don't you leave it here? It's a spiritual thing. Torah. I mean, obviously we know that Torah has its physical aspect and there's the spiritual aspect. And they were saying, keep it up here. Don't give it to don't give it to humans. And famously, Hashem turns to Moshe and he tells Moshe, "No, what do you answer them?" Right? So he says, Hashem, your Torah, what does it say in it? And then he goes on and he digs into them. Did you go down to Egypt? And he goes through a few different details of mitzvahs in the Torah. It's like you can't have the Torah. You can't, and that was it. They were quiet. So that's one medrash says it in that way. And there is another medrash. There's another medrash that happened. It seems that this happened before the first luchos, before the first set of tablets. But then Moshe Rabbeinu comes back up for the second set of tablets, and then they come to Hashem and they say, no. Look, you gave them a Torah, and the Torah says don't serve idols, and look what they did. So are you going to give them again? What's going to help? These human beings are good for nothing, right? And what does it say? That it says that Hashem tells them that, what are you talking about? You angels, when you went down to Abraham, you ate basar b'chalav, right? It says that Abraham, when he prepared the meal for the angels that came to visit, he went and he prepared meat, and and he also took milk. It says you guys ate milk and meat. So and it says in the Medrash that Hashem tells them that, and there's going to be a story of a child that's going to come home from school, and he's going to tell his mother's, and he's going to say, what's for supper? And his mother's going to say, I don't know, something milk and meat. And he's going to say, what do you mean? I just learned today in school and that you can't have milk and meat. And that's the whole thing of the Torah. And that's what it says. That's what it continues in the Medrash. By the way, angels, why can't we mix milk and meat? There's certain things that we can't mix. We can't mix linen and wool and linen, right? We can't. There's certain things you can't mix. You can't mix milk and meat. What's this idea? It's because they have such spiritual components to them that they don't mix, and that's the deeper Kabbalistic, Hasidic explanations of these ideas. An angel can mix them because they are spiritual beings. Us humans, we can't do that. So it wasn't a problem for the angels to do it, and that's why Avram was able to serve it to them. That's not the issue. The issue is that that's not the Torah. So Hashem tells them, you're not going to keep the Torah either. And the Jewish people, you're going to have a kid coming home from school, and he's going to tell his mother that he can't eat that. It's not kosher. That's what the Medrash says. And then they didn't have what to say, and the Medrash says that Hashem looks at Moshe and says, quickly write it down and go. So that's again, when the angels, this is part of this pasuk that Ma'anish, this is, who are these humans that you're giving the Torah to? Who are these humans that you're creating? They're just going to create for you problems, right? But Hashem, on the contrary. The next time was when they built the Mishkan. So it was a process. From what I understand from the Medrash, it was a process. It wasn't a one-time thing. It was over a period of time that they were complaining. Oh, and the most nerve-wracking time for them was by the final day, when they were erecting the Mishkan, and then they said, "Oy vey, Hashem and His whole glory is going to leave the heavens and He's going to go and settle, so to speak, in the Mishkan. The glory of God is going to go into the Mishkan." And the Medrash says that what's my Medrash over here? Medrash says that Hashem turned to them and told them, "Don't worry. I'm still going to be primarily in the heavens." That's what He says. And then David HaMelech, the Medrash says that David HaMelech tells us that it's not so true. That ultimately Hashem's glory will be more in this world than in the higher worlds, as we're going to learn eventually in a few years in chapter 148 of Tehillim, as we say. No, it's in chapter 13. Chapter 13 of Tehillim, which is going to be soon, in a month from now. Haidai al eretz v'shamayim. Haidai, Hashem's glory is al eretz v'shamayim. He says eretz first and shamayim. He says Hashem's glory is on this earth and in the heavens. And he says eretz first, the earth first, meaning that Hashem's glory is primarily and more in this world than it is in the higher levels in the heavens. And that's the way the Medrash ends off that story as well. And that's again from the angels complaining, Ma'emesh, who are these human beings that you're giving them the Torah? So this is the capital number 8, capital Ches, and the idea of the capital, the idea of the chapter is that we should recognize how lucky we are that Hashem even chooses to have a relationship with us, how lucky we are that Hashem gave us the Torah, how lucky we are that we have the opportunity to study Torah, how lucky we are that we have an opportunity to do mitzvahs, and we shouldn't take anything for granted. Just like King David says in this chapter, how amazing is the sky and the stars and the moon, things that we might be able to take for granted. We might take for granted. David HaMelech doesn't take it for granted. So we should recognize these things. We should recognize how special it is that we could have a relationship, that Hashem wants to have a relationship with us, even though Hashem is way greater than that. And the angels even said, and we could say, Ma'anish kisis kirenu, who are these humans that Hashem even wants to have a relationship, but Hashem wants to have that relationship, and we're very lucky that we could have that, so we should take advantage of that. And with that, we finish chapter number 8.